Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, politics, and entertainment from the Millennial Mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly makes it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And also remember that we're now on TV. Tune in at watch.kpmedia.tv and catch a moment of Zen on the Impact Live channel Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. All episodes are now available on demand. We have a great show lined up for you today in our influencer segment brought to us by CCPDigital and Caldwell Soames. We are featuring Nikki Giavanis, actress, entrepreneur, author, and mega influencer with over 1.5 million followers. And here to join her are Chris Pulley, CEO of CCPDigital, a decade-old digital advertising agency with deep knowledge in the blockchain and cryptocurrency industry, and Paul Caldwell, Chairman and CEO of Caldwell Soames. We will chat metaverse, cryptocurrency, NFTs, and all you need to know to come out winning. In our Millennial Mom segment by Romulus Entertainment, we are chatting with Lauren Conlin. Lauren is a New York-based entertainment contributor and host of her weekly entertainment news podcast, Lauren Interviews, and most importantly, a fellow mom. Today, we're discussing what women really want in a relationship and all that you guys out there should keep in mind. And in our Business and Buzz segment, brought to us by Revere Securities, we are featuring Leo Giel, CEO of KayaNow and of the HighThere platform and app, a cannabis-friendly social network. And he's joined by our expert at hand, Dr.Melanie Bone. She's been an OBGYN for 30 years and started practicing cannabis medicine in 2016. Today, we're chatting all things cannabis and how it's gone from being a banned substance to becoming a billion-dollar industry. And as usual, our beauty bump will be delivered by the awesome Sari Katz, co-founder of Velour Medical, injector to the stars, and one of my besties. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with influencer Nikki Giavanis, Chris Pulley, and Paul Caldwell in our influencer segment. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York.
If you've missed out dining in New York City for the past year, it's time to visit the legendary Vice Cucina. Located in the heart of Midtown, Vice specializes in blending delicious Northern Italian and American cuisine with dishes such as the incredible taglione lobster, ravioli masala, ossobuco, and pappardelle al telefono, along with many other mouthwatering offerings. You deserve a great night out. Call Vice Cucina 212-757-2600 or online at vicecucina.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, up in just a few minutes, we have our influencer segment brought to us by CCPDigital and Caldwell Soames. Today, we are featuring Nikki Giavanis. She's an actress, an entrepreneur, an author, and a mega influencer of sorts. And here to join her today are Chris Pulley, who serves as CEO of CCPDigital, their decade-old digital advertising agency with a rather unique access and deep knowledge of the blockchain and cryptocurrency industries, along with Paul Caldwell, chairman and CEO of Caldwell Soames, the Houston-based firm that has been around since 1992. Now, Caldwell manages two very impressive funds. One is a publicly traded enterprise fund, and the other is a private enterprise fund with a focus on investing in well-managed transformative businesses, both in disruptive and emerging industries such as Web3. And how fitting is this? And we are very much at the forefront with Caldwell Soames in all our innovation and technology segments. Today, both Chris and Paul are coming on to help Nikki Giavanis make sense of cryptocurrency and all its constituents on the blockchain and help us put Web3 into very much needed perspective. We're going to chat metaverse, cryptocurrency, NFTs, and what you need to know to come out winning. So, what is Web3 and why are all the crypto people suddenly talking about it? Well, the term obviously refers to a third generation of the internet, but is it just hype and the latest fad among those who trade NFTs of cartoon apes for hundreds of thousands of dollars and are already designing their virtual homes in the metaverse? Or is Web3 the less concentrated version of the internet that it represents, something that those of you who thought you were still living on Web 2 ought to know about? Well, the answer is probably yes. And with that said, welcome to the show, my panel of experts and the beautiful Nikki.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, Nikki, this is your time to shine. I'm going to set the tone by addressing what exactly Web3 is, and then you can go ahead and start with your Q&A with our two experts. Now, to set the tone for our listeners coming into these segments, Web3 refers to what I like to refer to as a potential new iteration of the internet, one that runs on public blockchains, the record-keeping technology best known for facilitating cryptocurrency transactions. See that? A two-in-one explanation. And that appeal of Web3 is that it is decentralized. That is the appeal. So that instead of users accessing the internet through services mediated by the likes of Google and Apple or Facebook, it's the individuals themselves who own and control pieces of the internet. All right. That is Web3 in the core minimum. Now, Nikki, I'm going to let you take it from here and you can go ahead and start from the ground up.
Okay, from the ground up, just cryptocurrency itself. How do we start with someone who has no knowledge of what crypto is and give a basic explanation so they can start getting involved without losing too much money, but also, getting involved in the right way?
That's a loaded question, and you might not know it, Nikki, because there's so many perspectives here. Are we answering as, an investor in cryptocurrency, or somebody that enjoys collectible items, or someone that likes the experience of new technologies and the promise of VR and AR? So it's a very tough question to answer in that simplest form.
Okay, how about if someone has never really heard of cryptocurrency whatsoever, and you're just from the beginning explaining what cryptocurrency is?
I think, Nikki, the way to really start someone new in the space is to give them some perspective on traditional currencies that they use every day and alternative currencies, alternative solutions, and help them understand that it's another way to be able to engage in commerce. And that's actually one of the main components of Web3, really, is decentralized finance and tokenized economics. And when you start talking like that, though, to someone that's new to the whole space, tokenized economics, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of like, they kind of will sometimes push back. You can watch their eyes glaze over pretty quickly. So I think it's really important to keep it simple, super simple at first, and just compare it to currently what they have in the form of the currency that they currently use. Cryptocurrency, on the other hand, is different than, for example, NFTs. Those are non-fungible tokens. Some may define them as a currency. Others define them more appropriately, probably as the tokens that they are and assets. So if you just keep it really simple and talk about cryptocurrencies as a currency, a way that you can engage in transactions, and tokens as a way that you can collect something or you can gather something that has a value, seems to be a way to get people to understand it. But the very best way that I found to help a neophyte or a new person is to just tell them, hey, look, if you really want to understand it, go buy some Bitcoin, go buy some Ethereum, get into an NFT in a reputable marketplace, and just jump in and test
Yeah.
the water.
Essentially what Paul is saying is cryptocurrency, or crypto, quote unquote, it's a digital currency designed to work as a medium of exchange through a computer network that is not reliant, and this is extremely key, on any central authority such as government or banks that we know it to uphold or maintain. So there comes the talk of DeFi and decentralized finance. So from that point on, you can start to talk about and leaving the what is the cryptocurrency question to what is the blockchain and how does that work, right? And of course, when you talk about all of this, right, a blockchain, essentially, it's a growing list of records called blocks, right, that are linked together using what we call cryptography. And each block contains a cryptographic hash of the previous block, like a timestamp, a transaction data, right? And the timestamp proves that the transaction data existed when the block was published in order to get into the hash. That transaction that exists is what links it all together. And as blocks each contain information about the block previous to it, they form a chain, and with each additional block reinforcing the one before it. So it's kind of like a domino effect, right?
I'm going to chime in there, as that is extremely well said, Zen, and yet I still think few will understand that concept. And I think most, when we're talking to a general public, probably care less about how it all works and more about how do I participate, or how do I take advantage, and to boil it as elementary as I think I can, and make the point. If you've ever been to or taken a child to a Chuck E. Cheese before, right? And you go into Chuck E. Cheese and you cannot use USD. You have to buy Chuck E. Cheese tokens to play the games, to access the rides. And so if you think of that concept of Chuck E. Cheese, or whatever your local arcade tokens are, it's very similar in the crypto world. So as projects bring their service, their assets, their ideas to market, you traditionally will need to access their cryptocurrency, their tokens, to be able to access and buy.
That's right. Chris, couldn't have said it better yourself. The Chuck E. Cheese reference is probably a reference all of America will totally understand. Thank you for saying that. All right, Nikki, I'll give this back to you. Go ahead with some more insightful questions.
Okay, so a huge topic of conversation now are NFTs. A lot of people know the term, but they don't know how they work, how to buy them. They don't really know what they are. It's almost like a very popular word, but it's very foreign and unfamiliar. So how do you kind of break that down to someone who wants to learn about NFTs and explain what they are? Because I've heard some people buy as much as like virtual property, like maybe over $1 million in NFTs or in the metaverse. And for someone who's not even really buying property here in reality for $1 million, like how do you kind of explain that to a person and get them to understand?
All right, Paul, this is yours. You have about a minute and a half.
I think that, again, the best thing to do is to make sure that you tell people to get into a proper exchange, proper marketplace, somewhere that they can really interact with the model and the business. There's a lot of junk out there. It's wild west kind of thing. And it really is a buyer beware business in many respects. And I think that the person that you're talking to, the person that's new to the space, should really understand that they need to find a reputable marketplace and just go explore. Get on the internet, go explore NFTs and see what they're all about. Look into secondary marketplaces. That's where the NFTs that they purchase on the marketplace can get sold in the secondary market. And most reputable marketplaces, NFT marketplaces, have a secondary market where you can buy and sell and trade. So tell them to think of it a little bit like baseball trading cards, if they're familiar with that, where you really you don't know what's in the pack all the time, but you buy the pack because you're hoping to get that one card that makes the whole purchase of the pack worth it. Maybe it's worth more now or later. Also, the ability to collect things that are interesting to them already. Maybe an existing sports figure that has their NFTs would be interesting to someone to just collect it, because they collect that person anyway. Kobe Bryant's a great example of that, I think, much beloved basketball player. That people would collect no matter what the value is. It's really not about the value. It's about the feeling. It's about wanting to have a part of that unique token, because these are unique, non-fungible tokens. They're secure and they're locked in, and they're not going to change. They can be bought and sold and traded, however. And there's a whole nother business aspect to non-fungible tokens. What I just mentioned was really the trading, the tradable aspect of them, the novelty aspect. I like to call it the novelty aspect of NFTs. But that's mainly where they are. It's where they started. It's where they're at today still, for the most part. Art, entertainment, sports memorabilia, these types of things. And they're finding their way into the metaverse, where they can become assets inside a metaverse platform.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to go into that metaverse and have Chris answer this, because I know she has a lot of metaverse questions. But essentially, Nikki, right? An NFT, this non-fungible token, it's a non-interchangeable unit of data, and it's always stored on the blockchain. Essentially, it's a form of digital ledger. And like Paul said, it can be sold and traded. And types of NFT data units may be associated with digital files such as photos, videos, an audio file, so to speak, which is why we are seeing that they are revolutionizing the music industry. But coming into that, we have about 2 minutes left. What are your metaverse questions? And you can address them to Chris.
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people have heard the term metaverse, but they don't even know what that is. Like, they see Instagram, metaverse, they see those things, and there's still no idea what is the metaverse. So is there a way to explain that to the novice person?
I believe so. And I even piggyback on the comments by Mr. Caldwell around the NFTs being access. Right? Collectibles, access, literally anything you can think of, you can put it into the IP of that NFT and allow access. So when you think of the metaverse, and we think about your friend who bought land, or you heard about the person buying $1 million worth of land, you look at what people are calling metaverse at the moment. And that's where you can have a submersive experience. And right now, it's in the game industry more than anything. And so a game like Roblox or Minecraft would be considered metaverse, where you can enter the world, build things, buy things, hang out with your friends. Our children are living in the metaverse right now.
Yes, my daughter she plays in Roblox all the time. And that concludes this segment, because we have less than 30 seconds left. But I wanted to say thank you so much to you, Nikki, for bringing on these very insightful questions. And thank you to our experts, both Chris and Paul, Chris from CCPDigital and Paul Caldwell from Caldwell Soames. It was very insightful having you on, and I'm sure many listeners benefited from this segment.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. Definitely check out Nikki Giavanis. Follow her on the gram at Nikki Giavanis Official. And definitely check out CCPDigital at ccp.digital and ogpay.com. Very trusted platform tying into everything that we are speaking about today. And OG2D, the original 2 Digital Corporation. We'll be right back after this. That was our influencer segment, sponsored by CCPDigital and Caldwell Soames.
Moment of Zen is sponsored by CCPDigital, bringing you the best in blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. As the next generation of the internet approaches, CCPDigital gives you an inside look at what's to come, so that you can stay ahead of the curve with the most exciting Web3 developments. Discover the latest news and updates by visiting their website at ccpdigital.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. We're back on the influencer segment with influencer Nikki Giavanis, talking about all things Web3, metaverse, cryptocurrency, blockchain, with our panel of experts, Chris Pulley from CCPDigital and Paul Caldwell, CEO and chairman of Caldwell Soames. Now, Chris very eloquently just summed up what the metaverse was. And essentially, in latent terms, the metaverse is a network of 3D virtual worlds focused on social connection. That's the basis of it all. And in futurism and science fiction, the term is often described as a hypothetical iteration of the internet, as a single universal virtual world that is facilitated by the use of virtual and augmented reality headsets. And that is key, my friends. Okay, Nikki, I'll give it back to you and you can continue on with your Q&A with our panel of experts.
Okay, so another question I have that I get asked a lot is, are we getting to a place where, when you say decentralized, that we're going to get to a point where there is no more money, where everything is basically crypto and digital, and cash is obsolete?
Well, I think that that's the direction of things anyway. We started with credit cards, and it went from paper to plastic, and now it's gone to from plastic to ether, right? However, it's a ways away before we're ever ready to come off of the current standardization that's used around the world. I mean, you have to think about this from a global perspective. One could start, you could think that the government would start, or someone would start a cryptocurrency that would take over the US dollar. But what they don't really understand are economics, and they don't understand globally how currencies actually lever each other and how currencies relate to each other. So this would have to be a global initiative before you see everything in the digital sphere. So I would say don't throw away your dollars just yet for your Bitcoins. On the other hand, I would say it's probably a good bet to make sure you have some Bitcoins, and not a bad idea.
Agreed. Chris, you want to pipe in here?
You know, Paul's really an expert when it comes to all things financial. So he's a mentor for me in that area, and I think he's spot on. It's a global conversation, and I think if I recall right, we're one of the few countries that are still using paper as money in general. I think there's a few countries that have completely gone digital with their currency transactions, and I know Paul might speak to that some more. So I think he's right. We're on our way there, crypto or not, and that's just a facet of the practical use of cost money to print money. Right?
For sure. And I'll go back to this because now we're entering this digital space. And at the beginning, Nikki said something actually that was very, telling of where people are in terms of understanding the complexities here. She said, what's Web3? What does that even mean? Nikki, I love the innocence behind that. But more importantly, I want to pipe in here because I'm a huge fan of the metaverse. And I feel, Web3 has a lot to do with the metaverse, and it's really a kickoff because first off, the metaverse essentially refers to a future internet that consists of this three-dimensional spaces in virtual reality where all these users can interact with one another. And it's the reason why Facebook recently changed its name to Meta. Really, I mean, some technologists hope that Web3 is going to incubate a metaverse that is built using blockchain systems, which is why we are here talking today, and open standards. And that is run by a network of computers around the world instead of what we have seen up until now, a few big companies controlling things, which always ties into something a little bit more sophisticated. But my entire preaching of the need to disrupt technocracy here. But back to NFTs. NFTs could facilitate commerce involving items in virtual reality. So Nikki, when you think of the metaverse and Web3 and NFTs, think of those as almost, that commerce involving these items within this new world. And the traditional gatekeepers won't be able to dictate what can and can't go down in the metaverse the way we have the traditional gatekeepers up there telling us how the interest rates work and our Federal Reserve and whatnot. This is an entirely different mindset and a different community, and it's really the generation that we're seeing today. That's my take as the millennial mom.
Yeah, I love that take. It's a whole new era.
It's a whole new era. We do have a little bit more time left. Any other questions you want to ask our experts?
Well, I've seen some people that are actually taking video and they're taking their own personal photographs. And there are people that are actually making a great deal of money. So I'm looking at those people and I'm seeing other people who see that and they don't understand how that's even a possibility. So is there any easy way to kind of break down how can you take your own personal art and monetize it and make it into an NFT, and how would you go about selling it?
You again have to find a marketplace, first of all. Mm-hmm. And inside that marketplace, there are technologies that will allow you to upload your files. and you can basically press a button and mint them. It's called minting. And you can mint that file and create an NFT of your picture or of your own personal art. But you have to make sure you actually own that, and that's another issue in the NFT space is there are music, there's background music on NFTs, for example, that's not properly licensed. They mint it into an NFT, it goes out, and the next thing you know, Warner Chappell's all over them for violating publishing, for example, and that's not a good thing. So if you own it and it's your own personal art, you certainly can take your photos and you could upload them into some of these in these marketplaces, and you can mint them, and then you can put them up for sale. It's a relatively simple process, frankly, and then the commerce is there where they can purchase the NFTs. Some are much more complex than others as far as the financial layer in the marketplace. Some of them you have to exchange this token for that token and learn more about cryptocurrency to even get to the NFT. Others are more simple, where you could just buy the NFT with your credit card. Someone could buy with their credit card, or they could just buy with Ethereum or Bitcoin or some well-known cryptocurrency. You got to remember another thing. Most of the people, when you hear about $1 million, somebody's paying $1 million for an NFT, I want you to understand something. Nobody's actually sending somebody $1 million worth of US dollars.
I'm so glad you said that, Paul.
These are basically speculators. Everybody's a speculator that spends a bunch of money on NFTs because they happen to get Ethereum at $127. And now it's, and then it goes to 4,000. They just happen to have a lot of it. So they can afford to speculate with their cryptocurrency profits, and they're typically buying these NFTs with those profits. So does it necessarily mean that an acre of land, because it's called Cuban Island or something, is worth $1 million? I don't think so. And I think that there has to be a reckoning between the real value proposition and the growth. There's an intersection there somewhere downstream, and we'll find it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, we're almost out of time, but Nikki, I'm going to wrap this up by giving you one last question to our panel of experts, and then I will tie this up with the bow and send you off on your merry way.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of people that ask me about just investing in crypto in general. A lot of people know about Bitcoin. They've heard a lot from Tesla, the Twitter information on investing, and a lot of people have lost money or gained money just based on what they're seeing from Reddit or from tweets, and they're not really savvy about investing. They're just kind of watching what other people say. So would you have any advice for those people to kind of take a more safe approach to investing, because they don't know, but they do want to invest, but they want to do it in a better way?
It's a great question. First, start small, and find your entry point. The second is learn about staking and yield farming. We're training our employees and our communities and our families about the staking and farming and yield farming, because it's producing tremendous amount of returns on tokens. So let's say you can download one of the decentralized apps, and you can purchase some Bitcoin right on the app, and then take that Bitcoin and then stake it, like putting it into your savings account or putting it into a money market account. But the difference is these markets are trying to attract liquidity. And because they're trying to attract liquidity, they're paying enormous returns. 12%, 18%, 40%, 80%, 300%. They're all over out there. And so that's an area where it's not about trading and buying and selling. It's more about, hedging the inflation that's coming at us so strong now, and finding ways to, within your limits, take that risk and learn learning the staking and the yield farming and the liquidity. And people are asking, how can they pay 300% or 80%? And probably the best way to describe this is, I got to go back to the 50s, even when the local bank opened on the corner. and they're trying to earn your business. Well, at that bank, if you open a savings account, you get a 4-slice toaster. Well,
good point, Chris. Good point. Okay.
Returns is the toaster.
Exactly.
Trying to attract you, they're trying to get the money in, and they've built in a marketing model by paying these returns to get the attention.
Yeah, without a doubt. And at the end of the day, people say to me all the time, is Bitcoin real money? And it's, to answer this question correctly, you need to define exactly what real money is first, right? So like you go back to the roots here, and real money it's durable, it's divisible, it's portable, it's fungible, it's like a medium of exchange, and crucially, a store of wealth over a long period of time, similar to gold. But some people confuse real money with fiat money, which is paper money or currency that does not hold intrinsic value, but individuals and institutions are willing to use it for, purchases and investments because it is issued by the government. So understanding that concept then allows you to understand what decentralized, currency is and what the differences are.
All I know is when I want to buy something, I just open up my OGPay wallet, I sell it in Bitcoin, and there's money on my debit card, and I get gas and buy dinner. So
it's true, and OGPay is FDIC insured, and it's basically one of the safer virtual wallets that you can have out there. And I'm not just saying that from to Chris's point, but it truly is, from a research perspective, one of those few platforms that are not even emerging. They've been around for quite some time, but that understand the back end protocols extremely well to make sure that your money is protected and that your checkout experience is really idiot proof. And I don't want to say that word in a bad way, but it's idiot proof.
I don't know how Paul did it. I just know it works.
It works.
Paul didn't do it. Smarter people than Paul did it.
Yeah, Paul just knows the companies to keep close to home. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up another great segment right here in our influencer segment on A Moment of Zen. Thank you so much, Nikki and Paul and Chris. It was very insightful as always.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
All right, you guys are listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. Check out Nikki Giavanis. Again, I'm going to repeat her handle at Nikki Giavanis Official. I've remembered this all throughout this interview, at CCP.Digital, OGPay.com, OG2D.com. They're all on the internet. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OGPay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OGPay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out OGPay.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, up next, we have our Business and Buzz segment brought to us by Revere Securities. And today we're featuring Leo Giel, CEO of KayaNow. And one of Kaya's focuses is on the development of the HighThere platform and app, where you will find a cannabis-friendly social network. And today, we're chatting all things cannabis, from being a banned substance to becoming a billion-dollar industry. Cannabis has sure gone a long way, and the legalization of marijuana for recreational and medical purposes paved the way for its boom in the market. This new green revolution opened countless opportunities, both for employment and investment. It has also made an impact on the economy. There are even POS systems, point of sale systems, now dedicated specifically to cannabis retail. And during the COVID-19 lockdowns, there were many scenarios in different countries that indicated a rise in sales of cannabis to many anxious individuals. So much that some places have deemed the marijuana industry essential. So whether you're planning to invest in this market or simply want to know more, stay tuned as we aim to demystify and normalize cannabis and all its amazing and proprietary uses with my panel of cannabis enthusiasts and aficionados. I'm a huge advocate and licensed user and microdose daily to my benefit. And today, Leo is joined by our expert at hand, Dr. Melanie Bone. She's been an OBGYN for over 30 years and started practicing cannabis medicine back in 2016. She is director of medical cannabinoid therapies at Morse Life Health System, a 5-star Gold Seal teaching nursing home in West Palm Beach, Florida, in case anybody is wondering about her expertise. Welcome to the show, Leo and Dr. Bone. What an incredible honor to have you here.
Thank you, Zen. Very nice to see you again. Thanks for having us on. We're big fans.
Nice to see you, Dr. Bone.
Great to see you.
Welcome to the show, Leo. Listen, HighThere is such an incredible concept, and what you have going on is pretty unique. So I'll start with you to get the ball going here. HighThere is a very much needed virtual space for cannabis users and enthusiasts where they'll connect and come together. It even once claimed to be the #1 dating app in the cannabis industry, but since you guys have shifted away from its dating roots and are now more community focused, your homepage is filled with educational articles about cannabis, about smoking it, and the cannabis business in general. But talk to me about KayaNow's vision with HighThere and the app and what your ultimate goal is here.
Sure. Fun fact, we did have someone find love on our platform years ago, and they did get married. And we have a couple of people out there that have the logo tattooed on their body parts.
I love it.
But that's a true story. But one of the things that we really wanted to do, we wanted to elevate our game. We created a community that we wanted to be focused on exploring the culture and craft of and science of cannabis. And we believe collectively it's our responsibility towards eradicating the stigma, misinformation, and inequality surrounding this plant, so we can unlock its true potential. And that's one of the main reasons we went out and we found bright minds like Dr. Melanie Bone and Dr. Donner to get involved with the company and help us be intelligent about how we're talking about the plant, and then also be forward thinking, excuse me, to help educate the world on the best ways to source, use, and understand this plant. And then most importantly, to bring the world together and let them know this is a safe place. Everyone's welcome. Respect your friends, respect us, and you have a place forever.
Great. I love it. I mean, definitely it's very easy to use as well. And you could get started on the app with just your Facebook profile. I'm assuming it's very user friendly. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Bone, listen, this is something that I want to address because our audience is always emailing me and writing in, but getting medical advice and accessing, helpful resources to help consumers on their cannabis journey is very critical and key. Essentially, knowledge is power. What do you say to the naysayers out there who simply refuse to acknowledge the benefits of this plant? The parents that would rather give their teenagers who are suffering from mental health disorder, Ativan and Prozac versus responsibly microdosing, CBD or THC and going the healthier route. What is your perspective on this?
Well, thank you for asking me. So, I was one of those naysayers. I have 5 children, and one of my 5 children really liked cannabis a lot as a teenager, to the point that I had to ship that child out to the woods of Utah to get them away from any drugs of any variety. And it was really only cannabis. And ultimately, unfortunately, they decided to put that child on a medication for mood, and he almost died of a drug reaction. And while he was in the intensive care unit, he said to me, "You understand, Mother, I use cannabis to manage my mood, and I want to go back to doing it because I'll never have this reaction with cannabis." And from there, I said, okay, I'm going to learn about the science behind cannabis. And there is a lot of science, but it gets poo-pooed because there are none of the randomized, prospective, double-blinded controlled trials that people in medicine often use as the gold standard. And I think we have to move away from that and say observational studies have power. And we're having just a medicine coming up in a different way. Instead of having the research, run it through the FDA, get approval, and then ultimately a lot of those medicines get pulled off the market anyway. Now we're having grassroots use of the product, and then we start fine-tuning how to best use it for all sorts of issues, including mental health in teenagers.
Yeah, I love it. Look, as a very responsible user, I feel cannabis expands my mind. It allows me to see things from a new perspective and reconsider otherwise, an overlooked solution, so to speak, because it really boosts my creativity without a doubt. And I always tell my friends, if you need some help with creative problem solving or you're experiencing creative block, you could definitely unlock your potential with a few doses or even an edible. But it's back to what you said, and tying it back to the medical community, because it helps cancer patients. I mean, cannabis eases nausea, it helps pain, and it increases appetite, allowing all these patients such a higher quality of life during these cancer treatments. I saw it firsthand with my father. So this is so important to me, and I want to hear from Leo's perspective here. Talk to me, Leo, about the importance of bringing on a medical professional like Dr. Bone to the platform, and why do you feel that it's critical that we have medically trained professionals and licensed professionals to really assess all this incoming flow of questions?
100%. I live in Northern California. I have 4 children. I can tell you cannabis is everywhere. People grow it in their backyard. Pastors at church are harvesting cannabis, so it's everywhere. Interesting for me coming from the East Coast to realize that at first. And then I said, well, this is the future. We can't look away. We have to educate. Imagine children not learning that if you drink too much alcohol, you get sick and you can't drive a car, all these things. I said, we have to be a thought leader here. So I brought on Dr. Bone and Dr. Donner. I wanted to allow them to have access to our audience and our audience to have access to them. So they publish content, and at the same time, our users can ask them questions. One day, if I have it my way and we're successful enough, I'll offer free access to our doctors digitally around the clock for people that are in need of medical advice that they can't get. Because I see so often on our platform, we have hand raisers. I'm suffering from anxiety. I'm trying to get off of an addiction to something else that's much worse. I need to deal with depression. And this is really important. And when I started to look within our community, I was very moved. And I said immediately, guys, we have to go out and get medical professionals to get involved, because this is what we need.
Yes. And, I want to ask Dr. Bone a very specific question in relation to kids and epilepsy, but I want to bring it to the data first, because I want to get this out there, because it is the world's most commonly cultivated, trafficked, and used drug. And as the push for legalization here at home and abroad, marijuana is really garnering very significant attention from investors, right? From manufacturers, from researchers. And despite this plant being illegal under federal law as a Schedule I drug, the U.S. legal marijuana industry right now is estimated at $13.6 billion, right? With 340,000 plus jobs devoted to the handling of this plant, according to data that we've received. So there's a lot of indication in the industry and beyond of where we are headed. But I want to hear from Dr. Bone on one of the many questions that we have been receiving with respect to, it helps little kids with epilepsy, and CBD oil. We have now seen in research that it's helping hundreds of children by reducing or eliminating severe seizures. Can you talk to me a little bit more about this? Because I find it fascinating.
Well, of course, because remember, this is an FDA-approved drug now, Epidiolex, which is purified CBD, which has been shown to be instrumental in helping manage seizure disorder in children. And for many parents, there's comfort in the fact that it's not CBD bought off Amazon or even at a medical marijuana doctor's office. It's CBD from a medical source with a prescription. There's some limitations. It's only technically approved for 2 types of seizure disorder, but it's used in multiple different ways. And I think now many patients who were not believers, when they saw what happened with Charlotte Figi, right, who
Yep.
Charlotte's Web is named after, they really became a believer. And of course, when Sanjay Gupta did his weed special, it helped very much. And so it's interesting because that drug is not even scheduled. So the natural plant is Schedule 1, meaning that it has no good medical use and a high risk of addiction. The Epidiolex is not scheduled. And let me point out that you were talking about cancer. Marinol, which is a synthetic THC, is in fact Schedule 3. And pretty much any doctor can write that prescription for poor appetite and nausea during cancer treatment. So how do you have one entity that's Schedule 1, 3, and unscheduled? It doesn't really make sense. So hopefully we'll see some change in the market and the government will reevaluate this.
Yes, I'm hoping that we do make strides here, because it's definitely the next generation of where we are right here in terms of medical research. Leo, talk to me about your perspective, not only as a founder and the brain behind the HighThere platform, but more as a parent, in where you are now hearing lots of myths, so to speak, about the industry, and where we are hearing, oh, vaping causes lung cancer. This is a gateway drug. You will end up addicted. And you're hearing all this stuff and you're thinking to yourself, if I can only just educate them, right? So that's probably where this came from. Talk to me about some of the misconceptions that are out there that you are hearing.
Yeah, 100%. So, Dr. Bone brought up a very good point, and that was another big motivation for us, because we have this enormous industry. You said it perfectly. And definitely, I recognize there's a tremendous opportunity, a big total addressable market. And the problem is all the marketeers came in, and you have every product under the sun. You never know what is good, what is bad. So we also said, all right, we're going to take it upon ourselves. And by the way, we haven't tackled this yet, but we're going to break through the noise, and we're going to be that trusted service or trusted voice, if you will, that you can go to and find what products work and which ones don't. And more importantly, you can talk with others who are using products to solve the same problems all over the world. And that was really one of the big motivators for us, to be able to allow you to also talk to your peers about what's working. And yeah, sure, I think, there's so many questions unanswered. Can you smoke too much marijuana and drive a car safely? Can you consume it via vape versus edibles, and what are the adverse effects of each? So that's why we wanted to have Dr. Bone and Dr. Donner, and eventually a bigger staff of doctors on a payroll to help us to educate the world. And honestly, so many folks all over the world reach out, and our most popular segment is when we let the community ask questions to the doctors, and we pick the most popular one to get answered.
And we're out of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue this part 2, because we have I just checked our schedule. We have you scheduled for the next month. So this is going to be continued. But thank you so much for coming on and bringing such an incredible guest. Dr. Bone, what an honor to have you.
Thank you for being there and having me.
You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. That was Leo Giel, CEO and founder of KayaNow and HighThere platform. Check them out. The HighThere app, they're all over social media and especially on the gram. And the key takeaways, my friends, is that more than half of Americans believe marijuana use should be legalized. The drug is already legal in 35 states, with 16 allowing adults to legally use it for recreational purposes. We have shifts in political policy that are also changing as we find out more about the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. And although it is still a controlled substance under federal government guidelines, the FDA continues to evaluate changes to marketing and export rules. And there you have it. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this. Okay.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sands. Now, today in our Millennial Mom segment, brought to us by Romulus Entertainment, we are chatting with Lauren Conlin. Now, Lauren is a New York-based entertainment contributor and journalist for Pop Style TV, and she also has a weekly entertainment news podcast called Lauren Interviews. And most importantly, she is my dear friend and fellow mom to two amazing kiddos. Shout out to Paisley and MJ. And today we are discussing what women really want in a relationship and all that you guys out there should keep in mind. Now, as Oscar Wilde put it, men always want to be a woman's first love, and women like to be a man's last romance. It's often said that men and women's brains work so differently that one sex is from Venus and that the other one is from Mars. Well, yes, actually, there is a new study now supporting this hypothesis after finding out that 1,000 genes are much more active in one gender than another. That's pretty indicative. Now, at the end of the day, any good relationship is built on some basic down-to-earth qualities. While superficial stuff like good looks and sexual chemistry are some of the early indicators of compatibility, there are a few more significant must-have characteristics that women look for. And while no two women are the same, there are basic essentials that all women want in a man. And here to break it all down for us is Lauren Conlin. Welcome to the show, Stunner.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
Yeah, different than our usual. Usually we're meeting for happy hour, but now it's all work.
Yes, so, it's all work. I have a coffee instead of wine, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Okay, good. I think that's a good thing. Coffee instead of a wine. But listen, love and affection are the foundations here. And I know that at least I do long for affection in my relationship. And whether you're a newlywed or you've been married for, 14 years in my case, I always feel that men should try to be sweet in their words and kind in their deeds more than anything else. What's your take on that?
So I read the book, The 5 Love Languages, when I was getting married. Our pastor had us read that at my church. And it really got me thinking that my husband and I, Matt, his love languages are completely different than my love languages. So you mentioned doing things for each other. So my love language is acts of service. And I'm talking like a really, really small act of service, like making the bed. You have no idea how far that goes for me. Or just making the kids breakfast in the morning. I mean, that to me is like, I don't know what I can say on this sexually wise, whatever. That is,
it's definitely a turn on.
Yes, it is a turn on. It is a turn on when he does that stuff. So, I mean, guys, just get to know your woman's love language. And then, I mean, you can't really go wrong if you just focus on that. If your woman doesn't care about, words of affirmation, which Zen, you mentioned that's something that you like, then, you don't have to compliment her all the time, just the acts of service. So it's like, it just depends on the woman.
I agree. And
get to know her.
If without a doubt, get to know, you definitely have to get to know her, but a bit of admiration can also do wonders. Praising her for her qualities, right? Like, if your wife's a good cook, if she's a good painter, a great homemaker, a caring mother, whatever it is, a successful career woman who is a real pro at her work, I'm a huge advocate. Respect her dedication to her work and not, don't insult her work and don't make it competitive, because I feel like in relationships, it goes to whose time is more valuable and how the tasks have to be split down the middle. And this is a huge issue, I think, for a lot of families, in where you have mom giving a dad a checklist of, listen, this is what I do every day. And then he does the same. And I feel like that competition needs to stop and everybody needs to just do that 50-50 split.
Yeah, I feel like the 50-50 split, it's never going to happen. I mean, I think now it's happening more. Obviously, when I was growing up, it was a little bit different. Dads didn't change as many diapers, blah, blah, blah. And now dads are changing more diapers and they're watching their kids, and people are actually saying, oh, you're watching your kids and you're not babysitting. That drives me insane. Completely insane. I'm like, you're watching your kid, you're not babysitting. But no, I don't think it's going to be like that. The 50-50, I really don't, just because I feel like most moms, right? Most moms just have this special bond with their kids, and dads have a bond as well. It's just different.
I agree.
So I know that every family, also is unique in their own way. So I'm not saying that, a mom has to be the number one caretaker. I just think, I don't know. I think it's always going to be mama first.
Mama first, right. And I meant more so the 50-50 in the sense that you're right. I could never get my husband to do some of the things that Alexa wants me there for, like sleep in the bed with me every night, Mom, and make sure you're there, at a certain time to put me down, and, and every weekend. And my daughter needs like a fair, or I don't know what she's been accustomed to, but she thinks that every weekend it's going to be like this big expedition and adventure where we have to do something every weekend. And sometimes you just want to sit back and relax, bringing me down to having, giving her space. A woman's life is not just about her husband and kids. And, you and I have talked about this a lot. But, spending time with friends or having a calm evening, even just reading a book, women deserve private time after all the hard work that we put in to keep our husbands and our children happy. And so I feel like if we go through this pattern of never giving ourselves that time, become frustrated and angry. I don't know. How do you feel about that? I need that time.
No, 100%. I flipped out at my husband like 2 weeks ago because he was doing all these weekend trips, with his friends or whatever. And I was like, oh, hell no. It's like, I have, and again, I love my kids. Do I have to keep saying that over and over? I hope not. I hope you all know I love my kids. Let me just bitch about them. But no, I love my kids, but like, I don't want to be the sole entertainer / caretaker, multiple weekends in a row. So last weekend, I basically told him, I was like, look, I will take the kids, to their karate lesson in the morning. And then the rest of the day from 11 to 6, I'm getting my hair done. I'm, working out. I'm doing, whatever stuff for me. And my husband understands. He's like, okay, you 100% need that. Go for it, And so it's not, he's good when it comes to that stuff. Like, he understands when I'm at my breaking point, and he knows that I'm not going to be doing anyone any good when I'm at that point, when I'm like ready to just, kill everybody.
Oh yeah.
So
and
he understands,
bringing us to ready to kill somebody. I also want a man who could handle my tantrums, and my husband does handle my tantrums really well. Look, women can throw tantrums just like a kid does. You might be in one of those crazy mood swings, and something might make you upset, and you out of nowhere snap. I mean, this is human nature. It actually happens more than we admit. But I want somebody who can just brush that off. I don't want to be like with a check mark. You had a tantrum.
Yeah.
Check.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And again, that's why I think we look for partners that, compliment us. And it's funny, Zen, after I gave birth, my PMS got so bad that about a week before I was supposed to have my period, I would just go crazy. I was in the worst mood, and I'm generally a pretty positive, happy person. I've got days where, but like, I'm telling you, it was like a week where even my husband, my kids, they were hiding from me. So, and like, now they know, they're like, oh, it's that week where mommy is like, and I'm becoming more aware of it. But it is so funny, like a woman's body. It's like, I am so aware of how I have no patience that week. I have zero.
Yeah,
like, nobody can do anything right. They can't even chew or like breathe around me, or else I'm like,
no.
Yeah, I know, it's bad.
But you know what? It's okay, because at least you're honest about it. And, at the end of the day, it has to be that balance of having a partner, a best friend, so to speak, and make it, really about the family environment, but also about him and about you individually. And I also, a really important topic I'm going to bring up is for the guys out there that snoop in your woman's phone or that checks phones and emails, I mean, you guys wouldn't like it if we read your messages on your WhatsApps or your emails. And in the same capacity, we don't want that privacy breached as well. And it has nothing to do with if I'm hiding something or whatnot. I just give me the benefit of the doubt and don't be in, up in my stuff. And I just feel like that lends itself to such bad patterns and behaviors that if you're comfortable with each other, there should be none of that.
Yes. And I don't have that problem. I don't go into his phone. He doesn't go into mine. I definitely don't care. Not that I don't care. I'm kind of like, I trust him. And it's funny because I am the one that's probably out more between the two of us. And he trusts me as well. And he knows like I am very outgoing. I'm a big giant flirt, but I do it all right in front of his face as well. So he knows like, this is how far it goes. This is where it goes. I'm going to come home to you. You don't have to worry about anything. And like, yes, should I probably tone it down sometimes? Absolutely. And the reason I do that is because I'm thinking about him and saying, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to be respectful, but no, we trust each other. And yeah, but I do know, like, if I was with someone different, if I was with a guy with maybe a shorter temper than my husband, or
right, you would skew it differently. It would be a very different dynamic.
I'm lucky.
Yeah. Well, listen, at the end of the day, the most important thing is having a guy that makes you feel safe and comfortable. And I know that you are in a great place in your life, and you have a great family and a great supportive husband. So that's one step ahead of most.
Thank you.
Lauren.
Thank you.
We have run out of time, but listen, thank you so much for coming on. It was very fun chit-chatting with you. And I definitely encourage all of you to check out Lauren Conlin and her interviews. She's on the gram. She's everywhere. Definitely check her out. Thank you so much for coming on, my love.
Thanks, Zen.
You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
Moment of Zen is sponsored by CCPDigital, bringing you the best in blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. As the next generation of the internet approaches, CCPDigital gives you an inside look at what's to come so that you can stay ahead of the curve with the most exciting Web3 developments. Discover the latest news and updates by visiting their website at ccpdigital.com.
Hi, I'm Sari Katz with this week's beauty tip for A Moment of Zen. So, I just wanted to bring up a really unfortunate and devastating topic, but I'm sure a lot of you have heard in the recent news on February 15th that a woman at the age of 53 was dropped off unconscious at the Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx, found to have injections in her behind of foreign unknown substances. Unfortunately, she did pass away, and this is not the first occurrence that we've heard of. So in the last few years, this has been really common as illegal butt injections have been a more affordable or roundabout option instead of butt lift procedures surgically with plastic surgeons. These substances, what we call biopolymers or synthetic products, are not FDA approved in a lot of instances for that area of the body, nor are they FDA approved substances in general. Some are imported from foreign countries or bought on the black market. In 2018, a Philadelphia woman died from cardiac arrest after getting butt injections. And earlier this year, a woman in Harlem died as complications of silicone implants. Silicone gels being injected into the behind. Unfortunately, these substances are foreign to our body and they can host a number of immune responses or side effects. They can cause inflammatory autoimmune syndrome. They can cause embolization of arteries. In other words, they can travel through our vessels and get stuck within our lungs and lead to death. So these products are really not meant to be injected in the way that they have been used. For example, silicone is a common product when we use it in encapsulated version as an implant, but injectable version, it actually can leak into surrounding tissues. And this can cause an increased risk of infection. And since a lot of these products are not degradable, they last. So side effects can happen over time or years later. So basically my advice to you overall is before you get something injected into any part of your body, especially your behind, make sure you're doing your research and understand that there's major side effects and possibly even death associated with these procedures. So please be careful, be smart. And this is Sari's beauty tip of the week for A Moment of Zen.
We are at the end of our date, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. or go to 710WOR.iheart.com/A Moment of Zen. Remember, we're now on TV. Download the KP Media TV app. We're on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Android TV, or tune in at watch.kpmedia and catch A Moment of Zen on the Impact Live channel tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. All episodes are now available on demand. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.